Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass, and with me is my wonderful co-host Cassandra.
Hi.
And we have also dragged out of the print room once again our intern, Skillen.
Hey.
Yeah, you're never gonna live down that, by the way.
Oh, I'm fine
It's
being
okay.
the intern.
Much Music's Rick the Temp thrived for a decade as Rick the Temp. And then when he stopped being Rick the Temp, his career turned to ash.
Actually?
It's all downhill.
I don't know, I can't think of anything that he did after people stopped calling him Rick the Temp. Oh wait, he was Rick Campanelli for a while. I think he was a TV host, but yeah, now he doesn't do shit. He probably has a middle management job in a corporation now.
Nice. Alright, so our topic today, I don't know which one of us wrote this, but we're gonna talk about what makes a good regiment for each weight class. So we have light, medium, and heavy. I believe we're gonna start with light. I feel like it's also gonna be kind of obvious, but also I want to kind of dig a little deeper because I think like a light has to do a variety of different things to actually be considered a good light, unlike a medium and a heavy. So like each of the different weight classes have different roles I feel they follow under. Like your lights are to set up the line of engagement. Your mediums are to score objectives and to kind of start peace trading, and your heavies are like your closers. So they're either, I don't know, not necessarily they're going to be scalpels, but they're going to be doing enough damage to like close out a game and like to collapse a flank. That's kind of usually how it goes, you know, and everything. There is the abomination when it exists, and we're not really sure what's going on with him, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's actually like for each weight division, I think there's usually like a couple of main like roles that weight class will fulfill, like a couple of archetypes for what makes something good. But generally once you start getting outside of those like 2, maybe 3 modes that, you know, that piece can operate in, it stops being very competitive. And like the abomination is like a good example, just because it doesn't really do anything in particular.
It's just fast
for its weight class. Yeah, being fast, inaccurate.
I don't know. It's not like it's Flurry and Clash 2.
Yeah, so are brute drones.
Yeah, and they get a lot more done than the abomination.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. It's like, oh, okay, like
it's Clash
they come
2
on earlier.
Flurry with 10, and brutes are they get 5 more extra attacks for 20 more points.
Yeah, and they're a bunker for a character, and you can always buff them up.
Also, they have 5 more wounds for 20 more points.
So if you're new to Conquest, that's a great deal.
Yes.
and oblivious, so resistance to resolve damage.
For 20 more points. Yeah, just take brute
But
drones.
guys, it's a giant light. Big light.
You imagine if they made the abomination a light?
They I believe at some point
I thought it was for some reason. That's my bad.
Oh my god. Alright, I'm laughing way too much here.
No, that's perfect. I don't know why I thought it was.
Probably because it sucks ass and dies like a bitch.
I mean, yeah, that's literally it. But okay, I have no argument. Just big bug.
This thing just like goes boop, 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 as it just blitzes across the table at you, and you're like, what the fuck?
It's like if somebody's tarantula gets out, like it's gonna skitter across the room and scare you pretty bad, but honestly, without the terrarium, it's probably dead in about a day and a half.
You're like, find it in like the hallway curled up dead. You're like, oh, what happened? There was no food and it died. Like, oh,
yeah. Like, it doesn't have venom. It's fine, right? It's gonna shoot hairs at you. Oh no, it's mildly irritating.
Oh no, it bit me with its big ass fangs. Oh no.
Those are primitive fangs. They don't even hinge properly. Did you know that?
No, the tarantula is kind of a weird spider archetype.
It's literally, I'm big.
Yeah, it's like, what if I put all my stats into tank and still be a spider? That's what I decided to do. And it was like, yeah, I'm kind of terrifying. That's a big fucking spider.
If the Abomination did that, it would arguably be more useful, but that thing dies in like 10 hits.
Like, what if it was movement 5 and it was just like, yeah, we're gonna put this thing to 30 fucking wounds.
No, if it was like speed 10 still, and it just had like 20 wounds, and it just had like, take it down to Clash 1, remove, flurry,
No,
remove all that. Just give it a ton of wounds, and speed 10.
Too much movement. So this honestly gets me thinking, like, too little movement is useless, but too much movement is a trap.
No, this Strix are fine. Mounted
Well,
squires
Strix are purpose built for just crapping it up and dying, but like think about the like a big old chosen Conquest slamming down the table, and back in the day when they could go real fast, and then you would send it up 21 units up the board with no support, or at least I would.
Yes, we know. we know that battle report.
And then goodbye.
This is definitely something that I've been thinking about for the last few games that I've been playing, because this is like something I've been trying to help Bernie with. And the thing with fast units is if you just sling them forward, if you just like fire them off like a missile, you're not really getting full value out of them. And the main benefit of having a really fast unit is that you can like build up the support around it, and then you use it to initiate the fight. So if you, in that regards, because then you're guaranteeing you're getting like the first hit, and then you're like trading favorably, ideally.
Or you have it so far back that your opponent can't interact with it, and they always know it can interact with you. So you have the drop on your opponent. You have what's called the alpha on them at any time you want. Like when you get the alpha strike. So like the fast unit can also just hang out beside or behind or wherever to support your slower elements, and can come on later because it's also faster, but also then threat project further to like threaten your opponent of, hey, if you make a bad move, I'm just going to kill you, and if you don't, my slower guys are just going to get in the way and I'm just going to kill you anyway, so I have the advantage.
Yeah. So speed, if you don't just charge ahead recklessly, it really translates into being able to outmaneuver and attack first, and pick the fights that you want.
That's the other thing with hunting packs, especially. I mean, again, it's been a while, but when I was using them, you could, like, every time I brought them onto the board, it was like I was using a Vanguard move, and then double moving, but it was like a net 6 inches of actual movement on the board because they were doing all kinds of crazy maneuvering within that framework. So that's the other thing is, and you mentioned it, the maneuverability, so you do have a little bit better.
And
you can keep pace too. And
like that fluid formation is so good because you can leave them kind of like off to the side, slightly ahead of some slingers or whatever. And if anything comes in front of you, within like, I don't know, like what are they, like speed 8, I think?
They are speed 8.
It's like if anything's like in about 10 inches in front of you, you can just turn and just hit it. And even if it's like hitting one of your units, you can usually just like scuttle around in such a way as like to hit that flank and get that opportunist. Yeah. Or if Strix fly over you behind the hunting pack, which is in front of your unit, then they can just turn around. It turns out, which that's the thing.
Did you encounter that the other day where you're like, aha, I'm being cheeky, and the hunting pack were like, yo dog, 360 no scope.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago before I had fully appreciated, or well, it didn't sink into my brain fully that hunting pack have fluid formation, so I kept forgetting. And then Bernie would just basically do like the Tokyo drift and then like come for my bird boys, and then it's like, okay, if you fly the Strix behind something, then like arguably they have to like turn around to attack them. but like you then have to turn around, and so like you're spending a turn turning around and then like I guess charging. Like I don't know, it's not really that efficient to fly Strix straight behind something. It's better to come in at kind of an angle and hit the side if you can, or something like that.
Yeah, no, especially for Strix. Okay, so we're talking about a bunch of lights. Let's talk about lights. So for a light, I think there's like some categories the light has to fulfill to be classified as a good light. I think you need to it has to be like cheap. Might be one of the things. And I think it has to have a ranged option is one of the things. I think it has to be able to score is one of the things. So it has to be cheap, light, score, and I think it has to like pump out damage. So like these are like traits it can have to be considered good. So like more for this example, so I've just named 4. I think there might be a 5th one, but I haven't figured it out yet, or I don't remember what it was. But you need to have like 2 or 3 of these things combined be classified as like a good light. So like Merc crossbows at 4 stands are cheap, can score, and they can shoot. So they make 3 out of the 4, so they're classified as a good light. While what do we got here? I'll just do Dweg Home. I want to say it's Infernal Automata. They're not cheap at 180. They don't score. They're not effective for their damage at Class 2 with 6 attacks. And they don't shoot. So I would not classify them as a good light. Would you guys kind of agree with that? Like you kind of have to do 2, like a minimum of 2 out of the 4 things to be classified as a good light.
I kind of agree with that, but I think of it slightly differently. Like I think that you kind of need so like you're describing the characteristics of like the roles that I look for, but they're like disconnected. So for instance, if you have something that's like you can have a mix of those characteristics that isn't necessarily good, right? So it's like, okay, you can have like shooting and
okay, show me a bad shooter. I already know which one it is, but
like
if you can't think about it, I'll tell you who it is.
I mostly know of like things in like Spires, but what is it, like the militia bowman or something?
Yeah. Well, they can score,
like,
and they're cheap, so that's their own rules. They have a gun, but you really don't use it.
Yeah,
so they're not outputting much.
My point is, it's like you need certain combinations of these things, and I think like if your lights score, and they're fast enough to get on zones, like by turn 2.
Oh, 5 should be speed then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speed is absolutely.
There we go. There's the 5th one. You got to have like kind of 3
gotta
of
go
those.
fast.
3 of those 5, 3 out of the 5 to be classified as a good light. There we go. We did it.
So, like the way I think about it is, you want something that either can like score quickly, or you want something that applies a ton of pressure to the opponent and sets up space for the rest of your army to come on. Basically holds the space, like sets the line, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's kind of really what I'm looking for. And you can set the line in a bunch of different ways. Like Merc crossbows, just having a bunch of them and just being like, well, if I run into them, I stop at, even if I kill them. And then there's like stuff that's going to be behind them. And then I'm like standing there. And now it's like, I have to win a roll off in order to not get murdered by whatever's coming behind. Or you have something like Strix, which is just like super fast and is like, just like you're saying, threatening that like alpha on whatever's in there. And it's like, it makes the opponent kind of play more cagey because they're just afraid of it. That's why it's like the longer you hold Strix, kind of like the better they are. And they also like support really well because they can charge through hindering without getting any penalty for it. And then you can also indirect it, at least buff them with burnout.
God damn it, they're going so far. Oh.
Yeah, well, and if the what is it? The Ferromancer's close, you can give them an extra +1 to their movement, and then you can also what else? Give them like deadly blades, and I don't know. You can do some fun
What the
stuff
fuck?
with them.
You're like, what's your minimum threat range of the Strix? Oh yeah, just a casual 14 inches. It's okay. I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
like
there
minimum.
are guns shorter than this. I just want people to know. Like, there are guns the same range as these Strix right now.
And like you're getting what? Probably on average, like if you're doing that, you're getting 8 hits. If you're attacking on 4s, you're getting 8 hits on average, right? Which depending on your like morale, maybe like another like 4. So like that's 12. Like it's hovering around like enough to wipe out like an MSU that doesn't have particularly good stats. Like it can, and even into something like vets, I've seen them like do that. Then the vets clash them and then they explode, and then like they're left with like one stand, and it's like, hey, I traded a unit of Strix to kill off 2 stands of your MSU of vets. Like pretty nice.
Yeah.
And you can make them score with the Biomancer.
Yeah, no.
So they can kind of just do whatever you need.
No, they're really good. Can you not take Vanguard clone infiltrators and score them with the Biomancer?
You can, but they're expensive.
Yeah, but I thought they were really good.
So the reason they used to be really good is you'd put the high clone in them, and then they just are able to score every turn. And also you just rock up, like basically get, like you just run up, volley, like aim volley. Then when something's getting close enough, you turn around, run away, or like you turn around, volley, and then run away, and then like move in with your support pieces, and then they're just close in fire support for the rest of the game. But those initial 2 turns of being able to score, or like usually you're getting 1 or 2 turns of like scoring out of them, but it depends, is really, really strong.
I also think they were volley 3 when I last played into them. I think they got a volley nerf, or they got a barrage nerf. I know they got some damage nerf in there somewhere.
Are they still?
They're barrage.
I think they're still 5.
Yeah, they're barrage 5, volley 2 with rapid volley. So I think 1's double.
So the issue was that they were the only thing that effectively were lights that could score previously. But for you're doing this with 170 points. But like, sure, you can do that, but they're not as competitive as like, say, a unit of Strix, which can then like, you're not stuck with like this unit has to score like it used to be before, because the high clone was like effectively imbuing the power to score into them. And like now it's a biomancy that the Biomancer has when in the directorate list, but it can only be given to 1 unit, even if you have multiple Biomancers. So Strix are cheaper. You can get them on the point. If you lose them, it doesn't matter as much. Like 120 points versus like 170. Like that's a massive difference. And it's like slotting them in means they're taking up like a restricted slot, and something that you probably would rather have like marksman clones, because they synergize really well with the Biomancer.
Mm-hmm.
So like they don't slot into the list very well, and like instead I could basically like shave off a couple points somewhere else, and then take like either an MSU of Incarnates or what is it, a Siegebreaker, which this is the list that I'm playing, and I was having the Vanguard clones in there for a while, but they just for something that you have to also dedicate the Biomancy, one of your 2 Biomancies, and it can only be on 1 unit, into this unit, which isn't that disposable, but like can't just natively hold something. Like, I don't know. It just, that's why they're not as good. Like other stuff just does everything that they do better, and they're not like so killy that like they like outshine like a unit of like marksman clones, which are going to like lock down like a huge portion of the board for probably the entire game.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Where are Morai? Morai are 180. They're fast. They're very killy. And they're classified as a good light. They don't score, they don't shoot, and they're not cheap, because I also think they're restricted, if I recall. Either the Curies or the Morais are restricted. Yes?
Oh, I was just sorry. I think I'm bringing this up too soon, but I do want to touch on while we're discussing lights, stalkers, because I think that's an important regiment to go over.
Yes, please go over
talking
them,
about
Cass.
the quality of lights. Okay, so just in terms of so we're talking about good lights. Well, let's talk about shitty lights. So stalkers, they got a huge downgrade when the Nords got redone, and I actually went and pulled one of my old lists to pull up their old stat block. So stalkers in prior to the most recent major revision to Conquest, they need to start doing version numbers. This is actually, it's really stupid to be like, well, the couple months ago update or whatever, like their folk tales or
The
something.
fall update or the October update, yeah.
Yeah, it's really kiss my ass. Sorry, not you guys. But so stalkers back in the day were 160 points for an MSU. Barrage 3, 16 inches, flank, vanguard, movement 6, volley 3.
So they've lost.
Oh, they lost a ton. We'll get over what made them. So let's talk about what made that really good. They had low volume, high quality shooting because they could take aim up to volley 4, which is the sweet spot. You could put a character in them for scoring. They could shoot up the board with a triple move because Vanguard was better back then. And it was flank, so they were coming on no matter what. They were almost perfect, really, in terms of the framework that we've set out for what makes a good light. They were incredible. Now, what we have to live with is a 140-point MSU unit that is 6 inches move with no additional movement capabilities. It keeps the flank. It gains opportunists natively instead of through a special ability like other regiments need. It goes up to Barrage 4. You think, wow, this is great. What a good deal. It seems like this is all good stuff. Volley 2.
Here's the thing. They only gave them Barrage 4 in January, so last month.
Yeah. So they were even shittier when the revision first came out.
Yeah.
And so all of that, like they go from being a great light shooting option, even if you take scoring out of the mix, they were still worth taking. Not as a top priority, but they had a place. With character scoring, it was magic. But these guys with no character scoring, they're just mid at everything. Like they're a flanker, which is cool because it's one less thing that you have to roll for. But that shouldn't be the defining trait of the unit. Because Volley 2 can we were complaining about the Abomination. Well, this is like that without the flurry.
Let me tell you, 100k is basically Volley 2 across the board. Fucking.
So you feel it?
Oh, I feel it. There are days where I'm like, oh yeah, 2 hits. My opponent made both saves. I'm like, yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
There are other times though where you like set up, take aim, and you're like, oh yeah, 7 out of 10 hits, and then your opponent's like saves 5. You're like, well, at least I got 2 this time.
So one of the things too, like opportunist is theoretically a very good rule.
Yeah.
But no fluid formation, no free movement.
Yeah.
So you want to get, I mean, what is it? If you can get in, and it's hard to get into a flank. It's hard to get side shots.
Yeah, I think it's easier to get side shots than it is to get a march, like our charge regiment into the flank.
I don't know about that.
I think overall
it's stand too.
That's true, but also like you can just kind of like move them over or force an engagement where they have to like get shot in the flank by the stalkers. There's some stuff you can do with Nords that's really annoying.
Yeah, you can make them work. It's just, for instance, like Hunting Pack is so devastating because it has opportunist and fluid.
Yeah, so it makes it way easier. Like,
yeah,
mounted squires have opportunists, but they don't have the fluid. And there's like, well, I just never get into the flank because my charge is always in the front, so I'm never getting used out of opportunist.
Yeah. So I feel like Hunting Pack is like a good example of one of the archetypes that I was talking about, which is just it's a very scary, very fast unit that, sure, it's going to die, but it will just rip you to shreds if you let it, and you can't ignore it.
Has good damage, is fast, is cheap, because I think it's 120 for hunting pack.
Yeah.
So it makes 3 out of the 5 requirements to be classified as a good light. And that's all they need to be classified as a good light.
Yeah.
Stalkers, it can shoot. At 140 would be considered cheap, can't score, isn't fast, doesn't do a ton of, like, it does some pretty good, like, chip damage at Volley 2, Barrage 4 at range 16, but
I can spend those points anywhere else and get more return out of them, I feel like.
Yeah. The lack of movement is really killer.
Yeah. Like, Stalkers, I did recently play them the other night, and they weren't bad. They shot at me, and they did, like, a couple damage, like, Merc crossbow levels of, like, oh yeah, cool. You did 2 wounds, nice. Alright. Like, kind of that level of damage from the years of playing Merc crossbows, and then I just killed them.
Yep.
Because Stalker's defensive stat says, please kill me.
Yeah, they're E2, so as soon as they get into them, they're dying. At least when you could put a character in there, like you had a counter threat that you could embed in there as well.
Yeah, but also, like, you throw a Blooded in there, and he would, like, throw his swords as well, and then also he'd let them score, so they'd actually be doing something. Like, is character scoring in Nord still a thing? I swear it was. Jarl,
it is. Well, no, not character scoring, but, I mean, Raiders take captains.
Yeah,
I thought there was
Raiders are just the other type of good light. I guess that's the other thing too. You could, why take Stalkers if you could just take more Raiders?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that.
Also, Bochosen dropped 10 points. Kind of nice for them. But Bochosen are always good. Like Barrage 5 precise shot on Volley 3. Like, this is your premium shooter, but they now no longer score.
Well, but that's like the problem with scoring Bochosen, honestly, was that then you had to. Sometimes it wasn't always the best idea to just drop them on a point, but that's what they had to do. So that was kind of like having the bow guys free to do bow guy stuff. There's something to be said for that. But then, like, lights that can shoot and score are so few and far between.
Did you guys know the Jarl had a shield? I did not know the Jarl had a shield. I know it's on his back, but I didn't realize he actually had the rule to use it.
Yep.
Damn, go him. They did take character scoring out of Nords. Neat.
Yeah, I feel like the Bochosen just do the
Bochosen are just such good shooters that they bend the rules about what makes a good light regiment.
Well, okay, well
because they cost too much. They're fragile.
They do cost a lot. Hey, you got that E2 back. You got the E2 back.
They don't have any extra move, but if they shoot you, you stay the fuck shot.
Yeah, no, you're picking up regiments. Yeah, like they don't score. They shoot and they have good damage. But yeah, they don't score. They're not quick, and they're not. What's the other fucking one?
They don't even get the extra interim standard bearer. Like, you are not
good. They don't deserve it. It's basically
there's no luxuries on that trip.
Whenever I see Bochosen, I know, like, I've walked onto the farmer's land and he's like pulling out his shotgun. I'm like, god damn it.
I think Cass is like completely right on this, where it's like having them stuck to the point actually cripples them in a way, where it's like the same way that, for instance, I don't want my incarnate sentinels, or I don't want, like, you know, a big monster like a siege breaker necessarily glued to a point, because now you're like, well, cool, like they have to stand here and like other things can maneuver around them. Whereas like you want your ranged units to be able to maneuver for better position and like take the best shots, control the most amount of board space, like control the board space that you need them to control at least. So like in a way, it doesn't hinder them because they operate more like a heavy that just comes on really early.
Okay.
To me, Stalkers were better as a point holder just because their output it made more sense for them to ping at something as it comes for them. Whereas that's a real waste of potential for the bow chosen.
Okay, slide. Yeah, I do agree. Like, bow chosen need to be free to move and shoot. Plus, with volley 3 on the bow chosen, they're allowed to move and shoot, and once they get into that, like, this is where the line of engagement is happening, and they can just set up an aim. It just prints money for bow chosen. Okay, so here's a good shooting light. Longbows. I like new longbows. They are 22 inches barrage through with AP1. So you got some damage there. They're only volley 2, but if you get, you're probably going to be taking them with advanced training, so they get up to volley 3 if you're within 11. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. But they also score at 180 points. And then you have 13 shots, who can also arcing fire from 22 inches away. And you're a light.
Yeah.
Like, something I was saying before the 100k update is that if I could take a Mounted Noble Lord with double Household Knights and double Longbows, I'd do it. It's true. I would. Longbows, you want to play 4 stands minimum, probably 5 stands, to be honest. Like, what is that? 15, 16 shots? Yeah, so 16 shots with their AP1 just from 22 away. Just lets them just dumpster people.
Like, they're pretty much 100 Kingdoms, like, equivalent to marksman clones, which effectively they're a medium that just happens to be a light. Like, they operate, and they're move 6, which is kind of wild. So
you can also pair them up with the Imperial Officer to give them a flank, not flank, Vanguard.
Vanguard?
Yeah, to get them further.
Yeah, like, that's really good. And that's like controlling a ton of space, like we were talking about, like like making the enemy or like making the opposing player not want to move into that space, and they can score. And
is that go ahead? No, I want to add something to the requirements.
Oh, like, that's all I was gonna say. And it's like, and then your other stuff, you're probably able to bring up some cav or like some other aspect of your army to then support them.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, out of those 5 requirements, I think we got to add a 6. I think it's position denial, or like taking a position.
Yeah, like suppression.
Yeah.
Board denial, board control.
Board control. I think you also, like, to be a good light, you also have to do that. So, because, like, a lot of good lights are shooting lights because they can just do damage and stay safe, or can support the elements once the lines clash if they can't score. Like, for me, Morai, it's like, okay, what does this thing actually do?
Right?
Well, yeah, it's board denial. They have board denial, they have damage, and they have speed.
Yeah.
And so they have the 3 things to be classified as a good light. They can't score. They're not cheap at 180, and I also think they're restricted. And I forget what the other one is. I have 6 down. I keep forgetting what they are. I should write these down. But yeah, they don't shoot. That's it. But then the Curies.
I really agree with these categories now.
You do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that these categories that we're talking about now are like really defining what makes a good light. It's like board denial, right? Can they just kill things, right? Because if you do that and you can stuff the opponent, you're gonna win. Just because, like, even if you can't score, because you're just gonna push them back so hard. Scoring makes you win the game. That's literally how you win. Like, these are all being fast allows you to do all of the above sooner.
Yeah, I think you need 3 out of the 6 to be classified as a good light. So you need to be able to shoot, you need to be able to have board denial, you need to have damage, you need to score, you need to have speed. Another good melee light is the Raiders, because they cheap, they score, and they do damage. And if you take enough of them, they'll actually be board denial. Same thing with the Flame Berserkers. I'm just throwing stuff on the floor. Good job, me. And yeah, like, those are some good. The Morais, another good melee light. Like, we're talking a lot about shooting lights because a lot of melee lights are not that great.
The interesting thing is that the good lights out there are the ones that, like, I think Strix are a good light.
It's fast, a little bit has board denial, can score, and for some reason sometimes they explode and do a bunch of damage.
So the thing that the key thing, I think, though, is that if you aren't able to shoot, the reason that Strix are good is not because of not strictly because of lethal demise. It's actually because of flying, paired with like movement 10, and it can be buffed up to like crazy amounts. But the flying is particularly the thing that makes them just so good, because you can't stop them from getting to their target, or it's very difficult to do so. And I think the translocation lights, I can't remember if is it Carius.
It's more eyes.
No, it's Morai.
It's melee guys.
The thing that's, yeah, if you can't shoot, the next best thing is being able to just utterly ignore everything between you and the opponent. And it's like, translocation's real good.
I just love it's like teleports behind you. Oh, fuck! Can you imagine if someone like walked up in front of you one turn, the next turn they like translocate behind you, reform, and then charge you in the ass? You're like, or they're just like reform behind you, and you're like, oh, god damn it, they're gonna charge me.
It's basically like if they gave Strix fluid, you just fly over something, turn around, charge them, and clash them the next turn. Like and to deal with you, the more important thing is they have to turn around, which is really bad.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it really is.
That's the worst thing that can happen to you in Conquest.
Getting turned around. Oh no, my
Having
pony.
to turn around.
I remember playing War Machine, and there was Karchev 1, and back in Mark 2, his whole thing was the rule or the spell called Toe, where you would have 3 Warjacks basically in his back arc, because that's how many would fit around his base, and he would run forward and then do like a 180, and then you would dump those Warjacks who started in his back arc into his back arc, but now further forward, and you just position them forward and they like run forward more, and he would just have his booty sticking out at people. And the reason why they
doing the combat drop,
yeah, he was just like, here's everybody, here's 3 Warjacks, and then they would run even further up, and it'd be like, oh look, there I'm up. Like, they were speed 4, so we weren't going very far to begin with, but it, like every inch mattered for poor Kador.
oh dumb.
Yeah. But like Privateer Press took that rule away from Karchev because they were like, we don't believe in having the Warcaster stick his ass towards the opponent on turn 1. It's like, no, it's so good. It's such a funny rule.
I mean, Kador is like Kador and Scorn are pretty much like
it's
equivalents. Just
the
same.
Scorn is the
faction,
Horde's version of Kador.
Yeah. The thing about both these factions is they're slow on paper, but in functionality, you're like, you do a bunch of weird combos, and you're like, cool. Now I'm actually one of the fastest factions in the game. They had to make my stats 4, otherwise I would be hitting your deployment zone from turn 2.
Yeah, no, there was like, you could like thread extend, I don't know, like 12, 15 inches and be like, hello there, eat a dick, back, and then you just bash them to death.
Yeah.
I love Juggernauts. That POW 19 axe just ripped through people. It was like, eat a Juggernaut to the face.
Titan Cannoneer and Titan Gladiator are some of my favorites. Just so funny.
Oh man, playing Karchev 2 before the end of Mark 3, and I had I forget what I had, one of the Clamjacks up to like armor 29, and my opponent was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "A lot of things."
Oh my god.
It's like, fight me, and it's like, no.
How many pips of health did that thing have? Like,
it had like almost the full. I think it was 6. It was 6 times 6. Yeah, I think it was missing the 2 corner slots. So was it 6 times 6 is 36? I think it had like 34 health.
Yep, sounds about right.
Yeah, it was. And then at armor 29, when like people were like, well, the highest weapon baseline is POW 19. Dice off 10. We gotta really buff this.
Could you just throw that thing and just ignore it?
Yeah, well, people. I don't think it could be thrown.
Up.
Well, it could stand up, but I don't. Really? It had a rule where I don't think it could be like displaced or something. I forget what the hell it.
Oh.
Yeah. It
it
got really stupid, and then people would try and be like, "You want to take a free strike?" And I'm like, "No," to try and make it open up. And then eventually I would do it, and I would do the Reign of Death free strike, where it'd just make an explosion and kill all the weak little guys around me.
My opponent shoots the steam out, right?
No, that's the Kodiak who shoots the steam. This one just it basically opens up its arms and it's full of grenades. It's like, here you go. It's just wild. And sometimes I would like bulldoze people out of the way with that thing and then like go for the caster. They're like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, well, I'm gonna beat you to death with POW 16s. They're like, oh shit, it has weapons. I forgot.
Wasn't there a Kadar Jack that just had like instead of arms, it had like a dozer blade?
Yeah, that's the Demolisher or the Desolator or
Yeah.
the Devastator. That's the Clamjack.
Well, that thing is. I'm thinking of the one that like basically looks like an egg, and it just like
Yeah, that's that.
goes into a ball.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
it. Like, and if it ever attacked, it would lose its armor bonus. So you would just like
Yeah.
ram it into people and like headbutt people and like do all the actions but never let it open up. And the only time you open it up is when you win the game. Because then it went down to like armor like 16 or something, and it was like, ooh, that's gonna die.
Yeah, it's like the Spriggan chassis. And
Yeah.
it's like either the Demolisher or the Devastator. Yeah, just this stupid bulldozer. I think this original design was like from, because I remember in like War Machine Prime, there's like a bunch of rules for like collapsing like buildings on people and stuff, and like the Demolisher would do like a ton of like structural damage to buildings, but it kind of like sucked otherwise.
Yeah, well, there was the Marauder, which had Siege on its weapons in Mark III. So you would do an additional dice damage on like huge bases. So you would charge it, combined attack, and then have the siege damage. You'd be rolling like 4 dice, and then maybe any other buffs for like 5 dice, and being like a POW, I don't know, like fucking 25 or something into like a huge base, and just watch it collapse an entire side of Colossus. It was really funny.
Look, Parabellum needs to give us some kind of a guy who just has like a bulldozer, like a dozer blade. Just no arms. It just they're close with the Ashen Dawn, but they didn't go full on like dozer blade like cow catcher thing.
You imagine if there was a regiment in the game that actually every time, so if it charged, it then it pushes the enemy regiment D6 back and then follows up.
This is a mechanic in several other war games that I like quite a bit. It's kind of wild to me that there's nothing that allows you to move your opponent's units in Conquest at all, that I'm aware of, at least.
Yeah, like
you just have to murder them.
You really do just have to murder
You
them.
just kill them, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I don't know. It's how the game's played. You got to position in the right spot and then fight it out. You don't get the weird, wacky shenanigans of like making. It's like, oh no, my opponent's fortified. Let me make my own board space.
Yeah, like the positional, like the weird positional stuff was kind of what made War Machine interesting, because it's like, oh, you can like push your buddy, and then they run up, and then they just like, I don't know. I'm thinking of like the Bronzeback Titan, just do like punch, chain attack, throw.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I played a Bunny Warren with Osram, where you would cast Bulldoze onto like 15 gun bunnies who would then just run.
Oh my god.
And push everything out of the way, and then push the opponent. You'd run behind the opponent's caster and push them forward into death range of the rest of your army, and then shoot them to death. It was wild. Absolutely wild.
I don't know. That is something that I like kind of miss, or like, I like that aspect in other games. I understand why it's not in there, but and it's fine, but I'm just like, oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Remembering the good times of War Machine before they decided to fucking ruin it.
Oh well. Now we have Conquest.
Yeah. Should we talk about anything else for lights? I think you want to follow that 6 for lights, and you need 3 out of the 6. You need to be able to shoot. You need to have board denial. You need to have damage. You need to score, and you need to be fast. And if your light doesn't do, and 3 out of those 6 things, you're not a good light. Like Infernal Automata. Oh, and is it cheap? Did I have cheap in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and cheap. I didn't. There we go. 6. And you have to have 3 of the 6. Like Infernal Automata, you're fast. You're not cheap. You don't score. You're damaging that great. You're not really denying board, and you don't shoot. You're classified as a bad light. Sucks to be you.
Yeah, they're one of each.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Don't look at them. It's awful. Mediums. What do you two, Cass? What do you think makes a good medium?
Well, honestly, I think probably one of the defining factors is like staying power. Specifically, I'll point to units such as your Valks, veterans, even. I think your anvil units. I think start to they have to show up in the mediums, because if your anvils are coming on in the heavy phase, it's a little too late. Except for, of course, Pump Daddy.
Let's get that pump.
Yeah. But no, I would say that like it's not necessarily a must-have. It's one of the criteria that I'd like to establish for how we rate them. The other thing is on the other side of the coin, and I'm just picking the easy low-hanging fruit here in a very big way, but just the ability to hit decently hard and not, because there are a lot of tepid combatants in the medium class, and the game is lethal, but low damage is not going to get you there fast enough is the problem. So you need something that actually hits. But beyond that, I mean, what does define a good medium in this game? Like, you don't see as much in the way of movement tricks as you do in the medium class, as you do in the lights. But generally speaking, so another thing, I guess, because I guess I have to field this entire thing on my own. Another thing that you would want to look at is where you start to get into the armor piercing side of things with cleavers. So that's another probably a criteria. I don't know. I'm just kind of winging it at this point. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on sustainability. I agree with you with damage and cleave. I would add a chud status in there. There's a lot of medium chuds, and there's a reason why they're chuds, and sometimes you need them for
their beliefs, political beliefs.
I need my chuds assemble. Oh, well, sometimes you just need them as a mainstay unlock. And sometimes you just need them to
I mean, the game requires a certain amount of chudding on the objectives, so
yeah.
I think you're right. I think chudfulness is definitely another criteria.
Hold warriors, good chudding. I don't know, fucking Vanguard clones,
Braves.
Good chudding. Braves, good chudding. But also another one I want to meet.
Vanguard clones.
I want to bring up one more before you do Vanguard clones. They have another aspect that makes them good, because I know you're going to talk about this. They have to peace trade well.
Yeah,
I think the peace trading is in there, because the mediums start to become your peace traders, where you're going back and forth with your opponent. And if you have a good peace trader, so something that can kill something effectively or stall something out, it's not necessarily an anvil, but it'll be a speed bump or a blocker, where it's oh no, I lost the stand. Oh no, you lost the stand. Oh no, I lost it. It goes back and forth until one of them's alive with one stand left. That's fine. That's decent for peace trading. You can do that with regiments at times, because sometimes you just need to stall out a side of the table for a while as other things happen.
Yep.
I mean, or you're stuffing a unit behind and you just need them to live long, because they're tying up way more than their value.
Yeah, so they kind of have to they need a peace trade, but they could be speed bumps, / blockers. Yeah, I do think you're going to start seeing a bit more advent of cleave or AP in here. This is also where a lot of your more melee stuff starts to come into effect. You start pulling away from shooting options, and shooting for mediums not necessarily is still a strong criteria. There are still good shooting mediums like marksman clones, and the archers from Sorcerer Kings, and all the other fucking brutes they have. But like Rajakor are good mediums because they are chud status. They're also pretty cheap at 120, and they're great like speed bumps. Because they just
the Rajakar I feel like are actually quite tanky, and you can build them to be like even tankier. Isn't there a way you can get them healing too off of like the elemental triggers?
No, it's not. So there's a mastery or upgrade that allows them the non-elementals to heal, and then there's one that allows the elementals to heal.
Isn't there like a character upgrade that makes their unit count as elemental though?
Yeah, it might be on the Raj or something if he's in there.
I feel like there's a way that you can make like a big block with a character also count as elemental, so they just like become like not the same as Valks, but like they're a tough brick to chew through.
Man, I think I gotta put Anvil in here.
I think mediums are definitely where you start to see like the anvil builds, like you were saying, other than like the pump daddy, you don't really want your bricked up units being heavies, really.
No,
it's a little too late.
Like that's what makes whole things bad, is because they're too late. They're March 5. They're not getting into the position to be viable for Advil status until much later on.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at Dwegholm. Like Steelforge are a great medium. They're pretty speedy. They got some really good damage. They're pretty tanky, and they got good piece trading just because of their defensive abilities and their offensive abilities. So I'd say they're a really good medium. Also, I feel like for mediums, point costs matter less. Like you're not looking for necessarily like the cheapest option. You're looking for the most effective thing that you need to score and win peace trades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just gonna look at some Spires mediums that like I find are relevant and just kind of like quickly go over them.
Sure.
Avatara are fantastic mediums. They're speed 7. They are resolve 4, defense 4, evasion 2. And they have cleave 1. They are the archetypal cockroach motors.
Fuck these guys.
They're just really hard to kill. They're just really hard to kill off of a point, and they're fast, and they hit just hard enough that you put 2 units of them on a flank and they can support each other. Something like that. Like they're a good combination of like tanky, fast, and they have like cleave 1. They've got impacts too. Like squeezing out every bit of damage is nice. That's the ability to like trade up, or like I feel like a lot of it is to efficiently kill stuff off points so that you can score with them.
Yeah, it's piece trading.
Yeah, and then it's like bound clones suck. They're cheap, but they don't do anything particularly well.
No, they're chuds.
Brute.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, the problem is there's better chuds out there, though.
Yeah, I think you need. So I think you need to be a chud, but you also have to do more. Like you have to kind of combine some of these things together, like speed bump blocker, Advil, cleave, damage, chud, sustainability, peace trader. I think you need to combine 2 or 3 of these together to be classified as a good medium. Because if you have 1 or 2 of these, well, maybe if you have 1 of these, like you're not like bound clones, they're just chuds.
Yeah, and you can't really pump any of their stats high enough that they become super tanky. They're only ever like defense 2 with shield. That's the same as like
it's men at arms.
That's the same as
these guys literally have men at arms stats for 10 more points to get evasion 1.
And the problem is that the competing thing is basically Vanguard clones, which are 150. So okay, an extra 30 points. They get 6 attacks. Their move 6. They have Vanguard. Vanguard 4, and just due to like the nature of the huge volume of attacks, they synergize nicely with Spires, because Spires wants things that like get into position and just dump tons of attacks so that you can do something like put deadly blades on them, and then just make the opponent roll like a bajillion sixes and, you know, like watch a unit explode. So like they don't have enough attacks to like really work. Like, yeah, they're a chud, but like this is a case where like they're only a chud, and in this case, like bare bones chud, you could go with like, I mean, arguably the competing unit are force grown drones, which are also a unit that unlocks things. An MSU is 90, and you have to cast a spell to score with them. But then during the rest of the game, they're also like setting that line for you and just creating like your opponent has to engage with them. They're just a barrier.
Yeah, they're.
It's like your comparison is a 90 unit that's literally like the cheapest thing in the game and has like, it's one of the cheapest units in the game. It's the cheapest unit in faction and has like the worst stats in the game. So, and you're worse than them. So like,
get out of here.
Yeah, you suck. Brood drones rule. They're a character bunker. They're expensive, but they're late game. So I guess like one of the archetypes is kind of like the late game kind of like fight finisher, and brood drones do that pretty well. They have impacts. They have flurry. The character in them multiplies their effectiveness.
So brood drones, they're tanky. They can score. Well, they're mediums. They all can fucking score. But you can chud up with them because you're using them as a character bunker, and you can just leave the character in the zone and still do his thing. You can peace trade with brute drones because of their offensive capabilities. So, and they're sustainable.
Kind of like a rook.
Yeah, brute drones are a good medium. Like they get a lot of what the stuff I've kind of written down for decent mediums. Like I feel mediums are a little weirder than lights to like find out what a good medium is, because a good medium has to do a lot more than what a light has to do. Like a light has to go down a specific route to be classified as a good light, while a medium has to like, you have to be able to sit on a zone and score and not be your like workhorse piece, because if your workhorse piece gets stuck on a zone, that's bad. It has to be self-reliant enough to peace trade, but also survivable enough to like hold an area. Like Household Knights is a really good medium.
Yep.
Like
they're like the equivalent of Avatara.
Yeah, like
they do that role.
They're D4. If you like put all the things into them where you vets them, so they're class 3, 5 attacks, 4 wounds, resolve 3D, like D4. You can also get like the best of men bubble. I think it's called Professional Troops or something now, where they can re-roll the 6s on their clash. So they're going to be 4s re-rolling 6s, and then 4s re-rolling 6s on the clash and the defense. And you can like put them in Theist as well and get them to have the Indom bubble. They'll just sit there forever and just be like, yeah, we'll just get into a stab fight. Like Household Knights will start winning those fights. All for the low price of 160 points.
So, yeah. I'll just kind of group up some that are similar. Brute drones and Deso drones are, and to an extent, marksman clones, all kind of are the same thing. They project a huge amount of like force. You don't want them to be like your frontline troops necessarily, but they will finish a fight. And they're the kind of unit that you want to sit near the bottom of your deck, and they can menace things. But you don't want to run up with them. You don't want them to be your frontline. And then, so Onslaught drones and Vanguard clones do the same thing slightly differently. They're not survivable, but they hit really, really hard, or potentially really hard, and they can wipe out units that are much more expensive and are designed to tank. Sort of like your anti-tank, kind of like kill the enemy off the point, maybe break the unit, and then steal the point from under them. And you just watch like, your opponent's eye, like, they just like become like grungled in front of you, and you're just like, like when it works. I mean, if they get hit first, they just explode. It's kind of like you need something that's like fast and like punches and will like repel things away from the point, or you need something that sits on the point and does it, or you need a tech piece that's going to just like help you win that attrition game.
Okay, I played into Goater Beast Pack recently. This is a phenomenal unit, by the way. Cass,
Oh my god.
Cass, go buy 4 boxes. I'm not lying to you. They're so good. Like, they're gonna get Flurry from the Vogny Lord. Your warband is Vogny Lord, 4 Goater Beast Pack. That's it.
A lot of hog.
It's a lot of hog. You just have 4 MSUs of Goater Beast Pack. And okay, so like Goater Beast Pack, I think is a phenomenal medium. I think they match a lot of criteria we have, where they kind of have to like be able to fill a lot of roles to be like classified as a really good medium. That's why like there's no like, I don't think there's like a medium that sits on the top as the best medium. I like to be classified, like you are either a very good medium because you fill a lot of roles, or you are not. Goater Beastback is a very good medium. I like it. This is what you want.
They have a line breaker.
Yeah, I know. It gets so worse. Like their stat line, they're pretty quick at March 6. Their Clash 3, what's really good. They have 5 attacks. They have 5 wounds. They resolve 3, defense 3, and evasion 1. For some fucking reason. Like, stat line wise, they're resolve 3 and D3. It's kind of swingy, but that 5th wound kind of keeps them alive if the swing goes bad. 3 impacts each with brutal 1, so you're doing damage there. You have 5 attacks on your Clash 3, what's going to be inspired to 4 with your Line Breaker. Line Breaker also affects the impacts, so if anyone has a shield, you ignore that, and then you're brutal 1, so like if you're Men-at-Arms, you're basically defense 1, so you're getting just shit canned. And then you're taking like 16 attacks on 2s as well, so you're getting shit canned again, and then you're going to take 2 tramples. Because why not? And sometimes with Goater Beast Pack, what's really funny with them is that they'll get into fights, they'll win a fight, because they're going to get Flurry and reroll the Clash, and then they'll just charge, so they'll just do their impacts, and then they'll just do their tramples and do a bunch of damage to something else to just do it again. So they piece trade very effectively, and they're pretty sustainable. You can kind of wipe them out if you get the drop on them, but the nice thing about having 4 Goater Beast Packs is it's harder to get the drop on them. Like, this is a phenomenal regiment for 160 points, by the way.
Yeah, it does so much.
Like,
the point cost doesn't matter because it does everything so well. It does everything you want.
Yeah.
Like, Fenner Beast Pack, also really good. Like, it has really good chud, has a lot of movement, has some really good damage at Clash 2 with Opportunist and the Fluid. They lost flank, while the Goater Beast Pack don't have flank, but you're going to give them flank off of, like, the Vogny Lord or the Blooded Supremacy. Call the Hunt? Yeah. So you're going to have 2 of them come on anyway. Like, it's just so good. Nords has a lot of great stuff you could just really pick from. But, like, Goater Beast Pack, Fenner Beast Pack, they're really good. Trolls are really good. Like, they're a great piece trader. They're also a tech piece against shooting because the regen draw event to just kind of keep them alive and heal up those wounds. Like, they're also a great MSU piece trader. I also think, like, as a medium, you kind of want to look at how your MSU status is to be effective. Like, in 100k, Household Guard are really good, but you also need to have a big brick of them to be very effective, kind of thing.
It depends, though, because if you're doing like the Avatara thing where you just have like a couple MSUs and you're just like stuffing someone off the point, then you don't need a giant ball of them to like kill stuff. But if you want to go out and just like murder everything, then yeah, you need a critical mass of them. Yeah,
but I like that regiment for Avatara, like you don't need to do that. While for Household Guard, you need the extra bodies.
Oh, sorry, Household Guard. I thought you said Household Knights.
No, Household Knights, like, you could build a Death Ball if you really wanted to, but Household Guard, you need to have, like, 6 plus 7. I would say, like, 7+ stands minimum, to be honest. What like, loses some of their, like, maneuverability by being in a big brick like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a factor where it's like, if you don't, I feel like resolve is a defining factor in that, because that's like defensive stats in general. Because like once you start to break, you start to like lose some of your like extra rule functionality and stuff. Like draw events don't work, you can't heal. You need to hit critical mass with units that rely on stuff that requires that they aren't broken. And yeah, like, I don't know. Some stuff is like, it works better as an MSU, but some things like that's kind of the same issue with was it bound clones. If you're going to build bound clones, you want to have a lot of them. Probably Aura of Death, but like this is what you would use, how you used to do it, either Aura of Death or Lethal Demise. You have just a giant ball of them, and then you put a Biomancer in there. But the problem is it's kind of unwieldy, and it's like the footprint of it actually becomes a factor.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually something that I think is worth talking about. Is like the actual footprint of the unit starts to matter with mediums, because if you take up more space, you can keep people off of points more effectively. But also, it's harder to move if you are out of position.
Yeah, so you like MSUs are a little more forgiving, especially position wise, and like I feel like with this discussion, we're like really hating. Like you kind of have to maybe do 4 of these things to be considered good, like a good medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Like peace training is a big one. Sustainability, being able to chud effectively at times, having some decent damage, being like a speed bumper blocker or an advil. Like I think you kind of need to like hit like 4 of them to be really good. Another one, like I do agree when you said like tech piece. Like there are tech pieces, like Praetorian Guard. I would say that's a tech piece. Like Velks, I would say that's a tech piece. Like if you are in that tech piece, if you have tech piece in your list, I feel like you can drop 1 or 2 of the other requirements to be a good medium, because it's like you're specifically here for that.
Yeah, you have like such a well-defined role that it's like it's something that your army, your list composition obviously requires.
Like requires, or you built it around. Yeah, like Men-at-Arms, if I wanted to run like a block of Men-at-Arms, I don't think, like I wouldn't classify them as a tech piece. Like if I was trying to use them as a defensive advil or anvil, I like, they don't have good damage. They don't peace trade really well. Even if there's like 7 stands, they don't have that great of sustainability. They're speed bumping their chuds, and that's about it. Like they're not peace trading, so it's like it's kind of like this is wasted points.
It's probably useful to like clarify like what we mean by tech piece, because like I think I have a slightly different like thought process on what my like tech pieces are than what you described.
Yeah, go ahead.
So like when I'm talking about a tech piece, I specifically mean something that like it doesn't win the game, or it doesn't contribute to the list simply by directly just killing the opponent or standing on a zone and not dying. And Spires has like a lot of stuff where it's like they don't exactly strictly do that stuff. So like what did I say here? The Deso drones are a perfect example of the of a tech piece, just because you aren't moving up and you're not brutally attacking things. They're just like a counter. They're like a rearguard counter shooting unit that debuffs the opponent and then makes other things just hit way harder. The shots that they connect with don't matter effectively. They're just icing on the cake. What you want out of them is the reprocessing agents, which is just -1 to defense. That's what you really care about, because if you can do that, and then you can have, say, you know, a unit of Vanguard clones that has deadly blades on them now, charge into the side of something that just got hit with this. Now they're hitting with effectively cleave 1, like what, 19 cleave 1 deadly attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if you burn out, which you probably should, now they're hitting on 4s, right? Like, and so it's like stuff that they aren't directly contributing through just pure damage, but they're doing something that enables like the rest of your army to function. Like what was the other one that I mean, Vanguard clones are kind of a tech piece in that they have nothing special about them other than Vanguard, which makes them get onto the board slightly quicker, but they take all of the buffs really well. So as a result, what they can the kind of force that they can potentially project is more important than the actual force that they directly project, I guess. It's a lot more about like potential and about like you're not committed. It's not like if I drop Incarnate Sentinels where it's like Incarnate Sentinels are big, they're beefy, they punch you, you die. Like, but Vanguard clones can be all of that, and they also can do things like just not like mitigate almost all damage from shooting. So now there's this unit that just like is really annoying to kill with ranged units due to the high clones. Like, it's stuff like that where it has a special attribute. Like that's what I'm talking about with the tech piece in particular.
No, I agree with you. Like Velks, I would say are like a tech piece because they're specifically dealing with like melee threats, but also with the Vulva healing, like they're gonna stay around for a while, and you're using that to like anvil up. Another really good tech.
Bolter are more of a tech piece just because they're
the Goater. The Goater are little shits, and I hate them. They're so annoying.
Like they can do a lot of medium stuff, but they also have like I feel like they have a more disruptive effect on the battlefield than a lot of other mediums.
Okay, here's a good one. The War Chariot Scorpios. I think that's a really good tech piece. The sigh. I've hit it.
Oh my god.
Welcome to hell. This thing, Chuds, has sustainability, does damage, can act as a speed bump if need be. It's fucking annoying. It just shoots all over the place. It takes up a very small section of the board. Like its footprint is very small, allowing it to just get into places and then just shoot out. Fuck this thing.
Yeah, this is kind of the archetypal tech piece in a lot of ways. Yeah. Oh, marksman clones were the other thing that I was saying is a tech piece. Because again, by themselves, sure, they could shoot a lot of stuff, and everyone get at least a lot of the games that I play against like newer players, they're like, "Oh, arcing fire is so good," and I was like,
"Nope.
If I'm using arcing fire, it means that I've made mistakes, or literally I've just killed everything around." Which means I have a 22-inch bubble of things that are dead, which means that like I'm probably already winning. Like arcing fire helps me win harder. It doesn't make me win.
No. Yeah, I do agree with you. Yeah.
Just for Spires, what you want is just lots of high volume of attacks, because all of the buffs stack off of volume. They don't stack off of quality. That's also why brute drones are so good, because they pump in a lot of attacks in a small footprint, and that's perfect.
You know what? You know what the anti-tech piece is? It's in the same faction, Sataroy.
They just do their thing. They got fluid formation, I guess.
No, like Sataroy have a bunch of stuff. It's just they're 200 fucking points, and they don't do enough to justify being 200 fucking points. But you can't make them any cheaper because their thing is coming from the side of the table and ignoring the reinforcement line, or from excluding your opponent's reinforcement edge. So you could just like come out and be like peekaboo and just gum some shit up.
There's just
but they usually just just immediately die. Like they just fall apart and die.
They're a cursed design problem. Like in game design terms, it's either they do nothing, or they are so game breaking that like you can't deal with them.
Yep.
And like, yeah, that's when you're in the cursed design space and you want to get out of there.
Oh, they're Vanguard 6. They got to keep Vanguard. Fucking bastards. It's probably because PB felt bad for them. Oh, those poor little bastards.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's just funny that they're also in city states, which has is arguably one of the strongest faction currently.
Yeah, because they just
everything terrible.
Everything in city states is just effective at what it does. They all have a spot. They all do a job. Nothing in here is like super OP, but everything has a spot, and you literally just get to do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's just well defined. Everything has a well defined niche, and they are coherent, so they work together to make a strong faction, a faction that's much stronger than the sum of the parts.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, heavies. Let's talk about what we originally wanted to do. What makes a good heavy, and then we ended up let's do every weight, and yeah, here we are. Cass, I'm gonna start with you because I know you love this and you've been waiting for it. What makes a good heavy?
So like we hinted at it at the beginning of the recording. So like their closers, like you want to have either like really good offensive stats or a suite of special rules in the case of the Apex Predator that enable it to do a lot of effective killing, so it can come in and finish up the fights that you've started with your mediums and lights.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, like I think that just is sort of more speaking to the situation than giving a specific criteria. Like I think that the necessity for good defense generally drops.
Yeah.
With the exception of Pump Daddy, because for the most part, like they're not getting into. So my logic is they're not starting a fight and getting dug in, and if they need to do that as a second wave against something that has come in the mediums, then things are potentially kind of more fucked than that. But I don't think the emphasis is necessarily there. Like with something like the Apex, I'll take the killing power over the defensiveness or the staying power. Like the same thing with the Bearsarks. So one thing that you're going to want to be prioritizing, even though I don't know if it's, I think this is more of a, how do I say this? It's something that's more relevant to the current state of the game than something that's necessarily inherent to heavies themselves. But generally, like the Bearsarks, you want them to have some kind of a movement trick.
Well, I think they're 200 points no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Like Bearsarks, you might as well. Where are they? Yeah, that 170. You might as well just say that's 200 and call her a day. Like that's
Yeah,
their baseline
absolutely.
cost.
Like you take the upgrade. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, except that why even provide it or present it as an upgrade at that point. But
because the mini exists and they have to put the mini in that regiment. That's why.
Yeah, they're retrofitting. It's fine.
But I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's 200. But it has, like, it's a very strong heavy to use. It's the pick of the litter, I feel like, in Nords right at the moment. And that's because it has a huge amount of mobility and it hits like a damn truck. So if you set things up well, then it comes in and does its thing very effectively. I don't know. What are y'all thinking about other sort of key criteria for the weight class?
So I wrote down a bunch of your stuff. I do agree with you. I do think they have to be closer. I think some of them might need a couple special, like not need as the regiment needs special rules, but like they have to have special rules that provide or their additional stuff. Like the Archangel providing what the heck is it? Divine Purpose is a good one. The Talos, if he wants to do some bubble, is another good one. But he also has his special rules of just like taking over zones. So his internal special rules have to be good. I have them as separate, but like either flank. So like, because they need to be on the table turn 3. Like that's one of the big things that make a good heavy. And I think they have to have flank so that they get on the table, or it's your only heavy option, so it's the only thing coming on turn 3. And they have to be fast, like because they need to get in position as quickly as possible on top of being there on turn 3. And that's what really pushes out a lot of other like heavy infantry. So your Hold Thanes, your Dragon Slayers, your Steel Legion, your I don't know what other heavy infantry there is, like your Varangian Guard. They're just too slow. Like March 5 on a heavy coming on turn 3 are too slow, and you need to be able to get into the game and push that line and be there when things collapse and fill those spots or get that damage in. And then the next one is damage. Like they have to be good at damage. Like the Abomination is not good at damage, and there's a reason why it doesn't get played, because it's just not good at damage. They've kind of changed that around with a lot of things. Like the Abomination is very much old design, so it just suffers, but it's a good example for this without like trying to dig deeper. And then lastly, I do believe that some things need to be like tanky, so like the Talos, as you mentioned before, but also like it has to be / brawler. So that's like the Ashen Dawn are more brawlers. Like they don't care if they're going to get hit first; they'll just like fight it out and win that fight. Similar to the Bone Golems and like the Canifers from Old Dominion, they don't really care if they get hit first. They're just going to fight it out and win that fight, kind of thing. Like Bone Golems more so than the Canifers. They kind of get fucking eaten at times because they're missing a wound.
Yeah.
But yeah, like those guys are great heavies just because they're great brawlers and can kind of fill in a slot and like push out. So like you could also put in a heavy, like depending on what you're doing with it, is like a gap like a gap filler. So like using Old Dominion, if your legionaries die and your Morais are dead, throwing some Bone Golems into that hole means they just have to chew through more shit before they can kind of run free. And that's a really nice thing to just throw into that gap what's been made if they're killing off all your stuff effectively. So like I think those are some of the qualities that make a good heavy. I do want to mention like Gilded Legion because they are a heavy infantry. And like one of the big things they get away with being a good heavy is because you can kind of like stack them out to be with enough stands for like their wounds to matter. And then with all their support, they're going to be doing a ton of damage with their big bricks. And then with the Vanguard from the Imperial Officer and the Hardened One from the Imperial Officer and his buffs he's doing, he's going to make them actually like pretty tanky and hard to deal with.
Do they still get double time?
No, double time is basically getting slowly removed from the game.
Okay. Probably for the best.
Yeah. By the looks of it, I think double time, the only faction that has double time left is Spires, but when that update goes through, they're probably gone too. So yeah,
what
like
does double time inspires?
The High Clone Executive Producer.
Oh no, that's
Overtaxed nervous systems, double time.
Yeah, he does. My bad. I was thinking of the other one.
Bashers first.
The pseudo triple activation.
Yeah, but like I feel like Gilded Legion get away with being a heavy infantry because they get the Vanguard from the Imperial Officer, but then it's like, but Mass, the Steel Legion could get the Vanguard from the Imperial Officer. I'm like, man, I'm taking the Gilded Legion over the Steel Legion because even without the even if I give the Steel Legion Vanguard, they're still not doing enough to like work for me, while the Gilded Legion will just sit there and take a beating and I can kind of fight stuff off, and all the support I'll do enough damage to like kill things. And I'm going to be spending that Vanguard on the Gilded Legion over the Steel Legion.
Yeah. The biggest thing that stands out to me about like Gilded Legion is they're so tanky and they can slap back so hard, right? They're almost like the Khador energy, right? Like, oh, you're going to hit me in the face, you're going to mostly bounce off, and then I'm going to murder you. And then I'm going to just keep plowing forward. And because they have that combination of like high defense and also high damage output, and it's very hard to mitigate. And like they have like the defensive pike formation and stuff where it's like it just blunts so much of the enemy's attack.
Like you don't get Inspire and you get -3 to impact per stand. Like that, like a lot of things are impact 3 or less. There's very rare nowadays that, unless it's a monster, it's usually like you don't see very much impact 4 anymore. There's a couple things that still have it, but unless it's a monster, you'll see like 6 or 8 or something. But like Goater Beastpacker 3, a lot of other things are like 2 or 3. It's not their stick, and they just like take that additional damage right off the bat, or just away. What's really nice. Like Gilded Legion are still a great heavy.
Yeah.
Like the thing
Steel Legion.
Steel Legion, I don't believe so, because you're giving all the buffs to the Gilded Legion because they're just going to do the job better.
Exactly.
Like Gilded Legion have built-in Bastion 1 draw event now, so they're just gonna be like, you don't have to spend points on it anymore. So you're gonna be Resolve 4 base, Defense 4 if you get the activation off, Harden 1, Pike formation, and you can do a bunch of other crap with upgrades. Like you can make Gilded Legion a fucking nightmare to deal with.
I mean, they've always been pretty good.
Yeah.
At least the entire time I've played.
No, I do agree with you. But like, you also have Ashen Dawn and an Archangel in there, what are really good spots as well. Spires. Tell me about your Spires, Skillen. I know you want to talk about your heavies. Tell me about your fun stuff in there.
Honestly, the heavies are kind of like the least interesting thing in Spires. The Deso Beast isn't out yet, so we can't talk. I'm not gonna talk about that. We have 3 options: Centaur Avatara, Incarnate Sentinels, and Siegebreaker Behemoth. Centaur Avatara are speed 8. They are just I realized that when you're talking about stuff, I was like, oh, it's kind of like how in BattleTech you have like the different like mech roles where you have like basically like lancers or like cav units, right? Or yeah, cav. So cav specifically are just something that like slams into you and like outmaneuvers you and kills you by like hitting you like in the back or in the side. Centaur Avatara are that. You pair them up with Leonine Avatar. The Leonine Avatar get a shot on something. You now have like 5 impacts that are brutal to per stand. So you have like, I don't know, you can ball them up or not. I don't know. They're personally like, I love the model. I don't really like playing them that much. I just kind of like.
I'm still annoyed. Like Crimson Towers went up like 20 more points, and I'm like, wow, still movement 7, 30 points less. Fucking Centaurs movement 8. I'm like, oh god.
The thing is that like, I don't know. At least to me, like Centaurs have kind of been also outshined a little bit by the other options.
Okay.
You have Incarnate Sentinels. Incarnate Sentinels are amazing. The list that I learned the game on was Sovereign Lineage. You put 5 block of them with the character, and the character has was it Pharomantic Override or something?
Yeah, the additional march
or Pharomantic Compulsion,
or the double char or the double clash.
Or no, yeah, it's Pharomantic Override. Yeah, so they get an out of sequence activation. You activate the character, and then you activate the character, pop Pharomantic Override. They march up, and then you chain activate in or entourage immediately into that unit, and then they like charge and then clash. So you effectively get a march, charge, clash. So you get all of your impacts. Unless you charge through hindering, but you know, like you should be getting all of your impacts and getting all of your clash. Or you can do something even funnier, which I did, which is someone tries to screen you out with a light, something like, oh, I don't know, hunting pack. And what you do is you just charge into the hunting pack and kill them on impact. And that's a separate activation. And now you entourage into your unit and you charge again into the unit that the hunting pack was screening, you know, say like some unit of juicy vets or something, and then you get impacts on them, and then you clash them, and then you just murder them. That's really fun.
You also have like a really good stat line.
Like, yes, the only thing that is weak is the resolve, and you can fix that with one of the buffs that effectively the character gets like resolve 5.
Jesus Christ. But,
yeah. So they're fantastic, you know. Like they're basically just a bruiser unit or like a brawler. They can take a hit and they can dish out hits, right? And that's kind of like that kind of like counter puncher. And there's like some that are like, I would argue the Gilded Legion have a little bit more, they're like more on the like defensive side where like they blunt the opponent's attack, and then just through sheer weight of numbers and just through like cleave 1, a bajillion cleave 1 hits will take you out. Incarnate Sentinels are a little bit the opposite. they can take a reasonable hit, but they would prefer to hit you first, and then whatever you get hit back with is like nothing. And then the final option is Siggy, the Siege Breaker, or I call mine Siegfried.
And Roy?
Well, no, I'm thinking of like the Dragon Slayer version.
Oh, okay.
These guys. So this is essentially the same. It's somewhere between like Cav and a brawler. Because it has a tiny footprint. It's speed 7, which all of these units are speed 7. It has resolve 4, defense 4, has no evasion. Usually if you're using this thing right, evasion isn't gonna like make or break anything. But you can burn this thing out to get up to Clash 4 on your impacts. And then you can, so you're getting like 5 brutal impact 3s and then 10 smites. Smite attacks on 4s as well. Or you can, like, if you got the charge clash, you're getting up to like 4s reroll 6s. It's terrifying 2. And it has unstoppable, which, like, that's nice. Like PB, you know, like handing out the candy. I like it. This thing's also fearless.
I think it used to be March 6th and now it's March 7th. But actually, you get places.
They made him faster. Yes.
That's good.
And what you can do is you can gland burst on this thing, get it up to speed 8, and then you can burn it out to give it +2. And if this thing happens, what's really fun is if it happens to get into combat and say the opponent charges this thing and they fail to kill it, right? Which is somewhat likely to happen. And the Ferromancer's nearby. You can do Ferromantic Compulsion, which just lets you clash twice, burn out. So now you're hitting on 4s. You're doing 20 smite attacks that hit on 4s for it's like I'm pretty sure it's 6 decay. Here, which equals out to 2 wounds.
Yeah.
Or sorry, with burnout, it goes up to 9 decay. So you're taking on average 3 wounds to do, like, I don't know, 20 smite hits on 4s. Like, it's pretty good. I mean, it's situational, but like when you need to kill a Rakshasa, you know, like you can just make it explode. So the downside, like the benefit is you have this tiny footprint and a reasonable, consistent amount of killing power compared to the incarnates, which are slightly more killing power, but it's bigger footprint and like your damage output goes down as you take damage. This thing, the shrimp, is nice because it can always take full healing. It effectively always benefits from like optimal healing. And incarnates are a pain to heal because they have 6 wounds, which means it's really hard to get that 3 to heal back a stand, unless you're going to waste turns doing it, is what I'm getting at. But this thing, you can just heal it up. It doesn't care. It doesn't break. It can break your opponent's units, but it's size 3, so it's getting shot. It's getting shot to pieces from across the board with everybody. Wizards are shooting it. Like everything, it's a fire magnet. So you got to be fast. You got to be fast. So that's kind of how it goes. You have like the Siege Breaker is kind of a mix of like a little bit of a counter hitter, especially with like the Ferromancer giving it some support. Mixed with Cav, and then the Centaur Avatara are just straight up like Cav, and then you have your Incarnate Sentinels, which are more of like a brawler, but they're a fast brawler. And I think that's pretty much the kinds of things you want out of your heavies.
I agree with you. Cass, what do you think? I think she's gone. She just disappeared. She's not even here anymore.
Called.
Yeah, she just like got up and left. No, I get you there. What else? We got like the super tanky ones with like the Talos. Yeah. Like in Dwagholm, to be honest, the only real heavy I see in here, because it's like Holdthanes and Dragon Slayers, they're just too slow. Like the Ironclad Drake is fast enough and can close and has enough damage that'll just close out a game. Oh, the Stoneforge. it's kind of a bitch to kill, but it's not really going to be winning a ton of fights. And it's slow, but if you have the guy sitting on it, you can heal it up. So it just takes forever to kill, but it's not winning anything. So it's not closing, and it's not a great gap filler. Old Dominion we kind of talked about. With Droon, you got all the dinos. Cass kind of talked about. Like, yeah, that's kind of it. Like, heavy infantry is just not that great. Like, don't look at it.
Primarily because it's slow.
Yeah, and and
Bear
Cass
Sharks
talks
are
about
fast.
Nords where the Bear Sharks get up there because they got like Vanguard 4 and then the free charge from the Savage, so they can just like march, charge, clash. So they're just skyrocketing across the board to be relevant.
Yeah.
So they just get away with it. Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you there. We kind of gone over a lot, and like I do agree with your Spires analysis where it's like, yeah, those ones it kind of covers a lot of what you're looking for. And Spires each has. They have a fourth heavy, but we've already shit on him enough.
Oh, yeah. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, it's effectively irrelevant. There's a guy in the Discord who is like, oh, well, he runs up and, like, can get onto his own and then, like, dies. And I was like, well, you're playing Spires, you know? Like, you could... I think it was a directorate list, too. I was like, you know what is... also does that and isn't it heavy? And is Strix and is a good unit, and is 30 points cheaper.
Yeah,
Strix do all of that, because like the other thing too is like once your mediums come into place, you don't need to be using that biomancy to be like casting scoring on your lights really as much anymore, or at least ideally you're not, right? Because like the rest of your army comes in to fill that up, and then that frees your Strix, and that's like part of what makes the directorate good is you have that flexibility.
Yeah. Cass, do you have anything to add if you are still there?
Oh yeah, I am still here. Sorry.
Oh, okay. There's.
No, I was just taking it all in.
The Apex.
Yeah, the Apex is. I mean, it's sort of. I mean, its main thing is it's really maneuverable, which is not necessarily common at the heavyweight class, but it also just is like loaded with special rules, which I think is what makes it really appealing.
It's got good damage and closes.
Yeah, so it gets in there and it has the potential to do explosive amounts of damage. You know, it's not like it's like on paper it's not a hugely damaging, like it doesn't have a ton of attacks or anything, and it's got good stats for what it is, but once you get the deadly blades and everything else, the Fiend Hunter, all that shit into play, it gets very potent.
Yeah. You hit him in the flank, and then you get terrifying going, and then
yeah, exactly, it all just comes together.
So I think in Sorcerer Kings, because they got two heavy monsters, I think it was the Character Hunter what's better, simply because it has more attacks, and also your opponent's always going to have characters, not necessarily if they're always going to have monsters in their list, so you get that extra charge distance.
Yeah.
It does not. It does have Fiend Hunter, but you don't really care.
What about the true most terrifying monster in this faction?
What, in Sorcerer Kings? The Mahut. Oh, fuck that. Sorry, the Maharaja riding the Mahut. Let's be honest here. That's the real monster. It's the symbiotic relationship between the best thing in the entirety of Sorcerer Kings and this motherfucker.
Oh my god, I hate this.
It just doesn't want to die. It refuses to die. It has a billion special rules, and then it has the Maharaja doing all the work.
Yep.
Like,
you just can't kill it.
Yeah.
It just keeps coming back.
Doesn't want to die. Old Dominion has... They're kind of the faction of good heavies, and they are filled with choice from the Varangian Guard. Like, even though the Varangian Guard are heavy infantry, they still... Like, their damage output's still really solid. And because of how slow Old Dominion is, you're usually fighting on your side of the table, so the Varangian Guard can get in there and do work. But if you're pushing out, like... Canifers, Bone Golems, even Bucephaloi all do a fantastic job of damage. Is there any other?
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about the Fallen Divinity. That thing can go fuck itself. Nords. So, I want to talk about the monsters a little bit, like the Ice Mountain and Sea Jotnars and Nords. We didn't really touch them. Cass, what are your thoughts on them?
Mountain Jotnar is just kind of whatever. It's pretty well accepted to be a mediocre heavy for what it is. I mean, it's not the worst, but it's just if you could take Bearsarks, why wouldn't you?
Also, it's 10 points more than Bearsarks.
Yeah,
and it's doing less than Bearsarks.
Exactly. So it's like I'm saying the option is there, but you shouldn't really exercise it. The sea and the Ice Jotnar, so it's a lot easier to get Bearsarks into a list than the Jotnars overall. And I feel like that's something that is a consideration as well. The Ice and the Sea Jotnar are both good for different reasons. Like, they're both perfectly fine to take, but that's when you're into, like, taking a Conanier at that point, or for some reason the Satyr, which you're not going to do, but let's keep it realistic. So if you're taking a Conanier, there's a case for taking a giant, but truthfully, like, generally speaking, you don't want to be relying on too many heavies just because you don't want to run into a position where they're not getting out until turn 4 or 5. So for that reason, generally speaking, if you're taking the Bearsarks already, like, they come in at less points overall than either of the giants, so they're generally the more appealing option in any case. But the Ice and the Sea Jotnar are both perfectly fine choices. The Sea Jotnar has Fiend Hunter, which is big, I feel like, especially having been broadened to include brutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I struggle to get a lot out of Ice Jotnars personally, but I know other people do well with them. I've found that I have better luck with the Sea Jotnar overall, just because you're less reliant on spellcasting and the inherent problems that come with that. But I think the Bearsarks are the clear choice, and then it's like you could take either giant as a substitution, either the good giants, but Mount Jotnar, keep it home.
I want to say there was a time where you actually wanted to take him when he counted for 6 stands on points.
Yeah.
Because he would just, like, take over points really effectively and be like, oh, beat me off, I'm just a dummy. But once that ended, he was put back into the box.
It was not a happy ending.
No, he did not finish.
Yeah, I just really like the Sea Jotnar. Sea Jotnar is very good. It was
and
used effectively against.
I think it's the pick of the two giants. Yeah.
If you have 10 points, I don't know, maybe go for an Ice. If you don't, just go for a Sea. Like, I think Sea Jotnar probably just does it a little more consistent. But man, a defense for Ice Jotnar, who then, like, sometimes rimstorms the guy to death. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, it can be pretty nasty.
Sometimes you just get absolutely blasted. Wow, it's 2 hits per success on Rhymestorm. That's it's only Priest 5, okay. But what's the achievement on this? 3. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can do a lot. Oh, he's 14 attacks. That's cool. Yeah, fuck this guy. I hate him.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Ice, if you fail at rolling spells a lot, maybe just consider my friend the Sea Jotnar, who just he just does the thing all the time.
He throws anchors at people.
Just get up there. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and there's a whole faction of brutes, so he's gonna start printing money.
When I was running Incarnates, Lineage Highborn, it was basically everything in my list was like getting just handled by this guy.
I don't know. I played into an IC. Like, at one game I played, my opponent had both an Ice Jotnar and a Sea Jotnar, and they're both going down one flank, and I'm like, oh god, this sucks.
Yep.
This is awful. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. Okay, I think we covered a good basis of, like, what makes a good regiment in that weight class. I don't know what to call this episode. That's my issue.
Weight Watchers.
Oh my god. Okay, done. I'm writing that down. Oh my god, does that mean I can... do I have to like Google the logo for Weight Watchers and then try and figure out how to put them a hut as the thumbnail?
Oh my god.
We're gonna get sued for trademark infringement by Weight Watchers of all people.
Look, we're not Mark Carney. They'll never find out.
I think I've watched like 3 episodes of Weight Watchers my entire life. Is that Oprah? What the fuck,
It's like
Oprah?
a diet. It's a diet.
Yeah, it's a diet
brand.
program.
Damn, Oprah. I didn't realize that was you. What has she been up to lately?
More of the same.
Yeah, but I thought she like quit her show.
I honestly couldn't care less what Oprah's doing.
Wow,
To be honest, now that I think about it.
Damn,
Wow.
Oprah. I'm getting old. Oprah and... Oh, this is like 2 years ago. Wow, she looks fine for 71. Oh my god. This is what I do in my free time.
Keep up on celebrities.
Not really. No, not really at all. I might read her... Wow, her wiki page is very long. Why is there a
Very
section
published
for
woman.
her romantic history? Like, what the fuck, people?
That's what Wikipedia is all about.
You know you made it when there's a Wikipedia page written about you.
True.
I think, Cass, and then she descended into darkness on Twitter, and everything was ruined.
No, they'll never make a Wikipedia page about me.
Oh, don't worry, it'll happen.
Too cool. Too cute.
I have a very, very particular reason, or a very particular vendetta against Oprah, and that is she largely popularized The Wish, which
Wow.
The Secret rather,
What?
which it's that book they sell in perfume stores.
I don't enter perfume stores.
That's why you don't know what The Secret is.
Oh god, no.
If you Google The Secret, you'll see it. I guarantee. Yeah.
What? This Brine book? The Secrets of 2006 self-help book by Rhonda Brine, based on earlier film the same name.
Rhonda Byrne. Yeah.
Byrne? Okay.
That's it. Yeah. It's basically, look, man, if you just wish for it hard enough, it's just gonna happen.
Oh, the pseudoscience law of attraction. I remember seeing this on self-help crap. Oh my god, this is like...
Yeah, the perfume book.
I think I saw this in like middle school or something. No, this is terrible.
Yep. Yeah, she popularized this, and that is really the only thing that I associate Oprah with, to be honest. And,
30 million copies and translated into 50 languages. Wow.
Yep.
The scientific claims made in the book have been rejected by a range of critics who argued that the book has no scientific foundation. Oh, I love how that's in like the summary at the very top. Like that's the first paragraph. This is the book. It's about self-help. This is who it's by. There's a film on it by the similar name. It's based on pseudoscience.
It's fake as fuck.
And about energies. It's sold a bunch, and it's been disclaimed and criticized very heavily.
Yep. I mean, Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil. Well, Dr. Phil is a blessing on the world, but Dr. Oz is a blight upon. So
how is Dr. Phil a blessing? He's an electrician.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that.
Yeah. Now you gotta defend yourself.
A blessing because, like, look, I'm a Jerry Springer fan, okay?
Oh, god damn it.
I just want to see more people self-destruct for my entertainment.
You were part of the audience, weren't you, in Jerry Springer?
Well, look, I'm just saying, I am like a daytime television aficionado.
Okay,
like,
tell me about all the Maury episodes you've watched then.
Oh, I've definitely watched a ton of Maury episodes.
That's some real self-destructing people over there.
Yeah, Maury Povitz, Jerry Springer is pretty good. Like I like I think it was Locust, which
Whatever.
is like
Y'all missed out on Richard Bay, which was the high watermark for trashy daytime talk shows.
Oh shit, Jerry
It
Springer
reminds me-
actually died like 2 years ago. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a band that went on Jerry Springer where they were pretending that they were all having like everyone was in a relationship with everybody else and they just like started fighting each other and they got popular over it. And there's some clause where it's like, oh, if you're faking your story, then the Jerry Springer show will sue you for a bunch of money. The band's called Locust and they kind of rule. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Without
Locust
Dr. Phil, we
out for
wouldn't have
blood?
Cash Me
What the
Outside.
Yeah, I know about the Cash Me Outside girl.
Like that's hilarious.
Oh god.
I don't know. I just like watching people just self-immolate like in public. Like it's entertaining. Like socially self-immolate.
What the fuck? I'm reading the controversy of Locust.
Oh, it's awesome.
Harrison later stated, I was beat up during a commercial break by one of the security guards. Pretty bad for blowing snot on the carpet. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, it rules.
Oh god.
See, these kinds of moments are totally manufactured, but they're exactly what I want.
Locust organized a number of gender baiting incidents, including Pearson and Sabrin staging a fake same-sex marriage while on tour in Hawaii. What the? Okay. Oh, what the fuck is
Locust
this?
is hilarious.
What the fuck?
Yeah, they're just some deranged, just dementoids.
Here we go. Critical response on The Secret. First one, US TV host Oprah. Yeah, okay, there we go. And that's how you got popular. God damn it, Oprah.
Yep, that's why I can never forgive Oprah.
Where she can never repent for her sins for The Secret of pseudoscience.
Well, no, it's really just having to listen then for years to a bunch of like fucking new age white bitches tell me about like fucking baby's first hermeticism is just infuriating. Like, I don't know how else to put it.
I don't know what a hermeticism is.
Oh, we're gonna be here all night.
Okay.
Don't worry about it, but just trust me. The Secret is basically like really, really shitty mystical teaching, but like the dumbest, most like mass market version possible, and specifically from a thing called hermeticism. And listening to idiots try to talk to me about this is just it enrages me in a way that I can't properly express. Like, I think Cass actually understands what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Wait a minute, so combined
it's like talking to Gnostics.
It combines two
no
different
point.
pantheons gods together? What the fuck? It includes aspects of alchemy, astrology.
I don't.
What the hell? Okay.
This is gonna be a lot.
Should we close this out and then go into hermeticism? That could be a BonkTable after dark.
I don't even want to do that one. You guys have fun with that.
Yeah. Look, this is the thing that like you don't like talking about. It's like the one asshole like talks about it, and like popularizing it is the sin that I cannot forgive. Like that's what it comes down to.
Guess I gotta go deep dive into fucking hermeticism to figure out what the fuck this is.
Here, I found it. This is baby's. I'll just send you the link to this thing. It's the 7 principles of hermeticism. You'll just understand that this is what the Secret is trying to say in the most. I mean, it's already like. Well, it's just like. Very watered down, and it's like, oh well, it just means just want something and you'll get it. It's like, no, it's not really what it means. But like, if you're, it's
I read the first one.
yeah.
Okay, this is very funny. Oh my god. All right.
Well, now you understand.
Okay.
If you just read this, you'll understand the general thing, and you'll be like, oh, imagine motherfuckers who walk around and just like this is, and they will like evangelize you on like this is the way to live, and I'm like, it's taken all of my willpower to not stab you, and Oprah just like basically created a factory that pumped out a bunch of these people.
The fuck? Everything vibrates? Okay, chill out, guys.
It's all vibes, man.
It's all vibes. Ooh. Oh boy. Okay. We successfully did the topic, and then we went down the rabbit hole. So I hope everyone enjoyed this part of the podcast where I get to learn something new from people who are like, oh yeah, don't learn that. And I'm like, oh boy. What the oh fuck! Now I gotta read this so that I can be cautious when I get approached by whatever the fuck this person is.
Also, I mean, the point that we've been trying to make is that you don't.
No, well, no.
Yeah, but I want to be ready because the one time I didn't understand some weirdo's fucking principles, I went on a whole 2-week binge of the fucking weird ass principles to understand it, and I was like, this is just fucking stupid.
You came to the correct conclusion, Mass. You want to learn just enough about this in order to recognize it and just call them out and just be like, fuck you guy. Because, like, people will, like, sneak this in, and when you recognize it, and you're just like, you're a cultist. You just have to, there you go, problem solved. Just be like, hey, man, I don't care about your fucking cult shit. Like,
there was this content creator I was, like, watching, and it was like, wait a minute. This is Scientology. What the fuck?
Yep.
I like
piano guy.
I don't know. I don't remember who the fuck it was, but it was just like, you're kind of sneaking in Scientology in here, dude. Not cool. Like,
yeah,
it's really funny. Like once you recognize it, the people who are pushing it, the way they talk and the way they deliver stuff changes. I thought that was really funny.
Yep.
And you don't recognize it until you don't see it happening until you recognize what it is, and you're like, oh, you're just a fucking idiot. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason it's worth knowing about it. And because I recognized what it was and I saw it happen and then everyone was talking to me about it, I was real annoyed about it and it was like incessant for like a decade. It's kind of like those like Carnegie or what is it? Those like wealth prosperity people who show up on YouTube who are like, oh my God, like here, I have this like secret course. You need to like join my course.
What the fuck was it? Hustlers University. I think one of the things when I was on driving, and one of my things I listened to was the whole like Andrew Tate prison trials, and I was like, wow, this guy's like kind of fucked up. Like this guy's literally just doing human trafficking.
Yeah, well, that and also like the rich dad poor dad guy, like all of these people, they're just fucking scam artists, man, and that's they just annoy me, right?
Well, what is it?
And it's like that kind of stuff.
The Hawk Chu girl got did a pump and dump and then vanished.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she made a bunch of money and then vanished. Like to be honest, I don't blame her for doing that, but I also am like, good, you fucking vanished and didn't keep trying to apply your bullshit.
Yeah.
You got your 15 minutes, have fun for the rest of your life. See ya.
Well, this has been an effective PSA segment of don't get sucked in by fucking cultists. And someone's trying to sell you something that seems too good to be true. It is. Tell them fuck you and walk away. They're just trying to get you to give them money and they will fuck you over.
Read
Don't
Dune.
listen to them.
Go read Dune.
Well,
beware of charismatic leaders.
Thanks for listening to BonkTable again, everybody. Have a great night.
Why do we do this?
Night, everybody. Your life.
Yeah,
Good
subscribe and enter the Discord. It's all in the description below. And follow Cassandra's Twitter. She's a charismatic leader that will never lead you astray because she wants to burn the rest of it down.
My method works.
Rampant anarchy works, I swear. All right, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.